It is your Money Monday, and if you are feeling weighed down by debt, join the club. You're not alone. The good news is that with the right plan and a few smart financial habits, it is possible to take control of your money and reduce what you owe.
Joining us to share practical ways to get out of debt that can help you reach your financial goals faster is author of Launching Financial Grown-Ups, certified financial planner, Bobbi Rebell. Thank you, Bobbi, for being here.
She worked hard for that title.
Thank you.
Mentioned you were backstage when we asked folks, is paying your dues still a thing? You think?
It is absolutely. I think it should always be a thing. I'm not sure that the young people here always do that. But I personally, my background is actually in TV, and I worked overnights at CNN when I was coming up as a TV producer and anchor, and before I became a money expert.
Right.
And I think it's really important, and it really does build character.
Right.
So absolutely, we should. And to your point, Ben, it is good for you, not just the people. It's not about hazing, none of that. It's just good for you to work basic jobs. I worked at a bakery when I when I was a teenager.
You didn't bring any?
It's stale by now, Ben. Please.
Why are so many people in debt? Like, why is it such a crazy popular?
$1.28 trillion?
Yeah.
Yes,
nuts.
Exactly. It's a really big problem, and it's something that we have a lot of shame about because very often we don't talk about it, which is why this segment's so important. The average household that has debt has about $10,000 in debt. And we make the mistake. We have this stereotype in our head that someone went out and they just hit up, Louis Vuitton or Chanel and they went crazy. That's often not the case. Very often debt comes from things like medical debt, from simply life being unaffordable and you have an income stream that you budget for and then something changes, a layoff or cutback, something unexpected. So we really have to get away from being embarrassed and shameful and get it out in the open so we can tackle it.
Thank you so much for saying that, because it isn't, I spent too much on my shoes. It
usually isn't.
A medical expense happens. Suddenly I'm faced with this medical expense and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, definitely. Or a lot of young people talking about them, they're pressured to go to weddings, to go to different events, to go out to dinner with their friends, and they want to be there for their friend's birthday party. And so you kind of get pulled into these things where other people are spending your money and then it gets out of control. So it's important. We're going to talk about how to actually get it under control.
This is why I don't go to parties.
Yeah.
You say the first thing you should do is know what you owe.
Absolutely, because if you can go through and see on paper, or if it works for you to use an app, that whatever works for you, you actually can identify the problem and it becomes more real and more manageable than just being abstract. A lot of the time we don't even know what we owe. And then how do you get started when you don't even know what you owe? Where do you start?
Yeah.
Then we bring up the B word. Budget.
Yes.
Set up a budget, right?
Everybody hates to budget, but the truth is it really does help, especially understanding what you're spending. What you're making is usually pretty easy. Most of us are, W-2, or you have a business, you know what's coming in. We don't always know what's going out.
Yeah.
We think we do, but when we write it down, we can see what the leaks are, and then we can make intentional and thoughtful decisions about how to plug the leaks and make pivots. We sometimes think things are must-haves that aren't. So for example, we may have so many streaming services. Yes, I can sit here and say cut back to 2, but let's not forget, here in New York, we have an amazing library system.
Right.
I love the library, all kinds of media available from the library. So if you want, and by the way, you want to support an author, you can tell the library to buy their book and borrow it. That is supporting authors as well. So.
By the way, shout out to the library. I saw that recently. I was there. The DVD collection at the library is fantastic. Like, it really is.
Card-carrying friend of the New York Public Library.
100%, definitely.
This is so true. I think people think like, oh, you two are on TV, you're rich. Far from true, but I used to have a notebook where I would go through like all my stuff. And then because I felt such shame, right? I was a single parent. I was like, how am I going to pay for all of this? And it literally took me sitting down on a Saturday by myself and I opened up the books. And then I realized, oh, this isn't insurmountable.
No.
And then I got really savvy and got an app, and now you can't talk to me. I know how much money I have. But I think you figure out what works for you. But the initial shame of looking at it and being like, oh, this is bad, or this is not as bad as I thought.
It's usually not as bad as you thought, and it's usually figuring out, to your point, what works for you.
Right.
So for example, if you want to pay down your credit card debt, we've already known you're going to identify it. You're going to identify the leaks, so you see what maybe spending you can change. You can identify maybe what income you can increase. You can ask for a raise, maybe you do a little side hustle. But then when it comes to actually paying it down, figure out what works. A lot of people like the avalanche method because that goes to paying off the most expensive debt first. So you take what has the highest interest rate, what's the most expensive, pay that down first. Snowball, That's the biggest bang for your buck initially. What you're going to do is you're going to pay the credit card balance that has the smallest balance in dollar amounts, so you get a quick win and you get motivated.
Yeah.
So one of those two is usually a good place to start.
Okay.
Consolidation as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Consolidation and maybe rolling it into a 0% credit card.
Yeah.
You want to have good credit. We've talked about that before. You can usually get an offer where you roll the debt onto a credit card, 0% interest for a defined period of time, maybe 18 months, maybe 24 months. It gives you some breathing room. The trick is you've got to pay it off before that initial entry time period ends, or they're going to hit you with really hard interest. So you must stick to the plan. I highly recommend accountability partners for that. Tell someone that's going to be supportive and say to you, well, let's not order Uber Eats or DoorDash tonight. Let's just kind of make something at home and hang out and enjoy our DVD that we got from the library.
Fantastic DVD selection.
Yes.
What are some real quick, some main takeaways here?
The main takeaway is know yourself and figure out what is going to work and get beyond the math, because so much of this, as we've talked about, is really your mindset, is saying, you know what, I don't absolutely need that. I can take this variation of it. I love my friends. Instead of going out to that restaurant, I'll suggest a different one. Maybe we'll go out for coffee, maybe we'll go out for just drinks. You know, get out of the mindset of we have to spend and just saying yes to everything. Question things and maybe make suggestions. Be a little more proactive with your friend group, because you know what? They're probably having the same struggles.
Or don't have friends.
Oh, here we go.
Just don't have them. They're overrated.
Just be
Get
like
a dog.
Bennett.
Get a,
Dogs are expensive too, though.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
get like
say,
a
But worth
cheap dog.
every penny.
Get a cheap
I
dog
love
that eats
my baby.
garbage.